Welcome back to another ProLogic versus match, and it's a bit of a grudge match, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Luke obviously did lose on the last one that me and him did, and let's just say he hasn't quite managed to let it go yet.
I haven't, but this is a new series, so you've already seen Curly versus 𝘁𝗵𝗀. This is our first one in the new series, so episode 2 of season 3?
Yeah, sounds about right.
There's a lot to keep
Really
up on.
looking forward to it. We're down at Twynersh. We've had a good look round the complex, and we think we might have found a few fish. It's always nice to set up on fish. We're on pit 7, and that's mainly because there's a good sort of average size fish in here.
Yeah, so we were speaking to a few regulars, and they were saying that, you know, if you get a bite, good chance of it being 20. There's a lot of mid-20s. There's 4 or 5 different 30s. So it's not your conventional versus match where it's 2-pounders out of Drayton. We thought we'd do things a little bit differently and hope for the best. And that could go either way. We tried that last time in our last one, and luckily you did pull off a couple of fish, didn't you?
Turned out all right.
And off camera, after the whistle went, I did lose one in that last one, which I'm still a bit bitter about because that felt a good fish. But that's all in the past. We don't need to worry about that now. So the weather is meant to be a bit hit and miss, isn't it, this session?
Yeah, I think rain is a little bit of an understatement. It's basically on and off throughout the entire time that we're here. So yeah, there might be some relatively long sections huddled up in bivvies and
not together. Wait,
that's... but yeah, so I'm sure we'll manage to persevere through it.
Yeah, so I think plan of attack is to get everything sorted, get the match underway, and then we can kind of relay to you how why we've done what we've done and that kind of thing. But I think, yeah, we need to get... Was that a fish over there?
Yeah, I think so.
Ah, there's a 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲.
Oh.
Anyway, let's get sorted, get the match underway, and try and catch some fish.
So as I mentioned right at the beginning of this video, the weather was going to be horrendous, and for once the guys that control the Met Office app actually smashed it out of the park, and they got it exactly right, which happens very, very rarely. It has been hammering it down for hours now. This is the first break, so we thought we better let you guys know exactly what we've been getting up to.
Yeah, so we started the match we didn't start the match, we had a little lead around first we've basically chosen the same swim. Should we go back to the start?
Okay.
Right, we've chosen one swim. Iain's on the right-hand side, I'm on the left-hand side. We were both happy with them sides, so we didn't do the flip. So then we started to have a little lead about in each side of the swim. And I was kind of leading about towards the island, along the margins, that sort of thing. And to be honest, couldn't find a lot. I was getting the odd drop here and there, but nothing solid. And a lot of it felt very shallow. So I thought I'd have a little look further down the margin to my left. And I ended up getting some waders on, going into the lake to see if I could feel something with my feet or just get that little bit further and then just donk a lead about. And I realised why I wasn't getting a drop. It was fairly deep, deeper than I thought, but it was very, very silty. I then found another little entrance a little bit further down the lake that I could wade into, and that actually sloped off quite nicely, felt a bit gravelly, and I found it was coming just below my chest. So that is where I ended up putting my left rod. It felt really nice. 2 foot of water then? It felt really nice down there. It was a good 7 foot, and it was literally like gravel just sloping away, and then the slope kind of evened out a little bit, so that's where I managed to place it. And I actually used a spoon on that one, and then my right-hand rod I've put towards the island, but not tight to it. I feel like this venue, there's going to be a lot of people fishing tight to islands, tight to snags, and I feel like just coming off it a little bit might be beneficial, especially as we've seen kind of how shallow it can be in places as well. So that's the 2 rods out. Not really doing anything too special. I've got little mesh bags over them, and the spoon one I actually put a little bit of bait in as well. So I've got a few whole boilies in the spoon, and then on the one towards the island, literally just a mesh bag and then a little hardened hook bait. So what have you done? So
mine, fairly similar scenario really, wasn't it? So
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, leading around, didn't really find a great deal. There's awful lot of sort of relatively hard sort of bottom in this sort of section of the lake, if you like. So actually, rather than trying to find a clean gravel spot, I was looking for a deeper silty spot. Now, I did manage to find one of those at a great distance of 5.5 wraps out, so nothing too strenuous on the old back or the arms there. That's just gone out on a 3-bait stringer, and then I've put maybe 2 catapults full of boilie over the top of it, whole boilie. I think a lot of people probably come here with like fishing little bits and pieces, maybe solid bags or maggots in bags. So I just wanted to go completely the other way, and hopefully that might nip me a bite on that. My right hand rod is just sort of, I wouldn't say tucked around the corner, but it's sort of just that way a little bit. And there's a nice sort of gravel shelf that runs off of a point, and I'm just at the bottom of the shelf. There's an awful lot of bird life on here, so my main concern was making sure that they don't pick me up in the middle of the night, because that will be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I think you're probably deep enough where you are. We found the 2 halves of the swim are very, very different. So, like I say, my half, it is shallower, and there's actually a little bit further down in the next swim and further along. It pretty much almost dries out, doesn't it? It's probably only a foot of water, so it definitely shallows off that way and then deepens that way. But something we have noticed since being here is the amount of fizzers is ridiculous. But we don't know if they're carp or if they're, I think there's bream in here as well, but we don't know if it's just kind of gases coming off the bottom. It feels like there's too many.
Yeah, I think if it was fish, if it was carp out in front of us right now, we wouldn't be able to kick the rods in water.
No,
because there's so many like fizzers out there.
Exactly.
Or fizzers out there that
so many bubbles in there.
Yeah, so.
But we have seen fish. We have seen definite fish, haven't we? Just around that corner, kind of further around than what you're fishing.
No fishing section.
In the no fishing bit, ironically. But yeah, seen a ghosty, and you reckon you saw a mid-20 as well, didn't you?
It looked really cool.
Yeah, so there's a good chance that as the day progresses, as it comes into night, that they might start venturing out a little bit. I mean, we're hoping, we're guessing.
We really are.
But yeah, the rods have been out for what, probably about 3-4 hours now.
Yeah.
And this is the first chance we've been able to actually give you a proper update on what's happening. So
cool.
I feel like everything's pretty settled. There's everything to play for because nobody's caught anything. But hopefully that will change over the course of the next few hours.
Yeah.
So we do another update as it gets darker, and hopefully we've got fish to show you.
Yeah. And just while I remember, behind us we have got a couple of new bivvies from the guys over at ProLogic, but we're going to get into those a bit later on in the video. But they are
they're pretty special.
Yeah.
That's weird. We didn't rehearse that.
No, you're weird.
You're weird.
Anyway,
we're not doing that.
Let's go.
Cut.
How'd you feel?
I'm made up. I can't even put it into words. Yes, I caught a bream, and I'm not overly impressed by it. But yeah, it's been another few hours of rain. It's about 9:30 now. No carp have shown. We've got nothing to go on other than the bubblers that have been kind of everywhere, which I think by this point we've pretty much discounted them as being actual carp feeding. Might be fish moving through and that sort of thing, but I don't think it's definite signs to go on because there's been so many bits and pieces. We've even seen bits in the margin where they're bubbling up, look straight in, can't see anything there whatsoever. So yeah, it's been hard going. And I know we say this on pretty much every versus, but it's not happening at the moment. We had a bit of dinner, and then shortly after that I had a pull up on the right hand rod, bobbin hit the top, and yeah, hit into it, and it just felt like a wet sock coming in. So I had an idea straight away that it's probably going to be a bream, and then as it got closer it just kind of flopped about, and that was about it. So I can't even count it. I can't say that I'm 1-0 up or I'm £3 ahead or whatever, because bream don't count. So yeah, I think it's about time we kind of get settled down for the evening, might have a last cup of tea, and kind of ease our way into the night and hope that something does happen overnight. If it does, obviously we'll be sure to keep you guys updated. If not, you'll probably see us looking a little bit dreary and wet in the morning. So I'm signing out for the night. Iain doesn't even want to talk to the camera because he's that despondent. So let's call it for now, and we'll pick up in the morning. Well, good morning. And it might come as a bit of a surprise to you if you've seen that opening sequence, but yes, I have got a fish in the net. And obviously that means I've taken the lead because nothing happened last night. It was just first light this morning. It's about 7 o'clock now, and that rod went off about 6:30, something like that. And yeah, I've got a little common in the net. I haven't weighed it yet, haven't got it out, but we will show you all of that in a second. But first, it's time for coffee because we need a good coffee to get us going this morning. We had a few liners last night, but yeah, that was about it. So, like I said, I don't know quite what that fish weighs yet. Ian, what were you on? Okay, the weight's irrelevant because it's gonna take the lead. Well, there's that old saying that size doesn't matter when they look like this, but in a match it does matter. So it's just scraped £13, pretty much bang on £13. And I guess it doesn't matter because Ian still hasn't caught anything. So I've taken the lead with this one. And to be fair, it's a lovely little fish, really nice colours. But we came onto this lake thinking we've got the chance of a better one. And then the one that we have out is probably one of the smallest in the lake. But like I say, it's taken the lead nonetheless. And yeah, it looks very cool in this early spring sun. So let's slip it back and we'll tell you a little bit more about these new bivvies from ProLogic because they are very, very cool.
Okay guys, so here we have it, the moment you've all been waiting for, the ProLogic SLR Bivvy system. That stands for Spring Load Reflex, and this is ProLogic's first quick erect bivvy system. And to be honest with you, although it looks like a very similar mechanism to some others that are on the market, this one has a couple of unique features that go the extra mile. So we're going to break this portion of the video down into 5 easy and manageable sections, mainly for us, because we're not all that clever. And yeah, let's get into it.
Well, first things first is a real party piece of this bivvy system, and like Ian said in the intro, just how quick this is to erect. This is rapid, and I'm going to talk you through just exactly how to do it really. So the first step that you want to do, you get out of the bag, it will be like this, all folded up. You want to splay the legs out, and it's simply a case of just opening this out and then pushing all the poles together. That will give the main shape of the bivvy, and the nice thing about it is they're anti-twist poles as well, so you haven't got to worry about fabric being the wrong way or anything like that. So I'll show you now, literally a case, open everything out, and then you go through one by one, slotting them in, done, job's a good one. So the second step to setting it up is pretty much the final step. It's as simple as that, and it's a case of just splaying out all the ribs and then clicking everything together. So it's probably easier to show you rather than explain to you. So if I do it now, it's a case of splaying everything out like that, pinging it open, and then you can put this main bit in place. These two poles then simply go together here, and then it's just adding a little bit of pressure onto there, and that's it. You've got the shape of the bivvy in 2 steps. Obviously, just a case of going around, pegging everything in place so it doesn't blow away. That's it, job done. So before we delve too much into the kind of ins and outs of this bivvy and the features, what do you actually get for your money? Now, most systems like this, you need to buy everything on top. So you buy the base bivvy and then you buy wraps and whatever on top of the actual base. With this, you get absolutely everything. So obviously you get your base bivvy, but you get the front infill panel with various door options. We'll come on to that later. You get the condenser wrap that we've got over the top here. You get a heavy duty ground sheet, but you also get a full mozzie front panel as well. So pretty much everything you could possibly want from a bivvy, you get in this whole system.
So now now you guys know exactly what you get in the box, it's about time we went over the size and weight of this bivvy. Now, obviously, this is it, fully set up and ready to go. However, for some of you, the most important information is the transportation size. And here it is. This entire package goes down into this tiny little bag. And, well, as far as weight goes, it comes in at a little under 12 kilos, which, when you consider the extra door options, the heavy duty ground sheet and the condenser wrap on the top there, I don't think that a little under 12 kilos is anything to grumble at. When it comes to transportation size, it's 135 centimeters long, 25 centimeters tall and 25 centimeters wide. So it is a really nice and compact pack down size. And if you have got a small vehicle that you use for your fishing transportation, it is not going to be a problem getting it in the back of it. When it comes to the dimensions of the SLR bivvy completely set up, you've got 275 wide, so it's a really nice wide bivvy. You get all your kit in there along with a decent sized bed chair. I've got a wide boy bed chair and I had absolutely acres of room to store all of our kit. Bear in mind, we also carry camera kit as well as all the fishing kit. Depth wise, you've got 240. So again, it's nice and deep. You can push your bed chair right to the back and make sure that you've got almost like a small porch area in the front there. And then as far as the height goes, it's 150 centimeters, which is ample if you sit on top of your bed chair with a bed chair buddy and you want to keep like a nice straight back. It just stops that sort of age-old fisherman's aches and pains where you're crouched over on your bed chair for far too many hours.
So as we've all learned by now, the Inspire range really is the flagship range from ProLogic, and the material definitely lives up to that. So it's a ProLogic very own Protex material that it's made from, which has a ridiculously high hydrostatic head. Bivvies usually have around 5 to 10,000. This one, it's got 20,000. So it's pretty much the highest hydrostatic head that you're going to find in a bivvy on the market at the moment. And with that, you'd expect it to be a pretty heavy bit of material, but it's not. It's still got a really lightweight nature to it, and it's still very breathable as well. So you're not going to worry about condensation. Now, moving on to the ground sheet, we're coming onto it a little bit more when we look at more features, but the actual material is made from another ProLogic Protec material, and it's a heavy duty ground sheet. So you've got no issues with durability at all. Now, you have to forgive the outfit changes amongst this video, but we have had all 4 seasons in the time that we've been filming this. But we move on to the features of this SLR bivvy, and to be honest, there's so many, I don't really know where to start. I think we're probably going to go with the front panel first. Now, as you can see, this is a full infill panel, meaning that everything is covered. There's no windows, there's no mesh or anything like that. It is completely covered. But there are vents, and as you can see, there's 3 big vents across the front. We have got vents on the side, which Velcro in place to keep everything neat, and along the bottom. And then behind this, you've also got the mozzie mesh. So if you want in a little bit of airflow, but you still want the security of an actual waterproof panel, then obviously that is really beneficial to have that. You've got flexibility. Zipping that down, that can also obviously roll up and then actually just clip in place. You've got a mozzie panel in the middle as well, underneath the waterproof outer, and then the same obviously the other side. Now, this can be used in so many different ways, this front panel. You can obviously roll the door up, you can roll the sides, you can roll everything. Or if you want a mozzie panel, then obviously that comes with it as well, which then you can roll the door up and clip it. There's so many options to choose from when it comes to the front panels. Moving on to the top, obviously we've mentioned previously, you get this condenser wrap, and yeah, obviously that comes in the kit, no extra charge. You've got obviously rod retaining straps here, and that's on the bivvy itself as well. But this goes on really easily. You've got 5 clips across the front, and then around the bivvy, you've got little Velcro bits which just attach to the side of the bivvy. So you don't have to use that. If you want to save a little bit of weight, then you can take it off. But to be honest, for the weight that it saves, you're probably better off using it, having that extra layer. It's beneficial in both summer and winter. So yeah, you get it with the kit, so why not use it? Now I'm going to pass you on to Iain, who's round the back of the bivvy. He's been waiting very patiently whilst I've gone through the front door options. because there are some interesting features around there as well.
Now moving on to the back of the Bivvy, you're going to notice these absolutely massive panels, and obviously these are hiding the 𝘁𝗶𝗀𝗲mesh panels to aid with ventilation. Couple those with the ones on the side and the ones on the front that Luke spoke about earlier, and you end up with ProLogic's 360 Pro Vent. And on a summer day, let me tell you, having that kind of airflow and combined with the shade of the actual Bivvy itself by sitting inside of it, you really are going to make those days a little bit less painful. It's all very well sitting out in the sun, but when you're ginger and fair skinned like me, you notice that sunburn extremely quickly. So one last thing to mention, as you may be able to see on the camera, it's quite a small detail from the outside of the Bivvy, but internally it is quite a significant feature. And that is this seam that runs around the base of the Bivvy all the way around, and that is for the zip for the ground sheet. And as you can see, it's not at the bottom. There's a 10cm rise there, which means the ground sheet comes up off of the base of the Bivvy. So that means that any surface water that may be in your swim or around your swim is not going to end up running on top of your ground sheet, and everything is going to stay bone dry. And last but not least, that crucial piece of information that all you guys have been holding out for, and that is, of course, the price. This entire kit, with all the features and the extras we've mentioned, comes in at roughly $549. There's loads of information on the ProLogic website, so do go check that out, get the in-depth specs, anything else that we might not have mentioned throughout this video. Anyway, I need to get back to the session. We've only got a few hours left. There's still chance for me to get one fish on the bank. Hopefully it's bigger than Luke's little 13-pound common that he had earlier.
Don't say little.
I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling lucky. Let's get on with it.
All right, well, I think we can all agree that that is a serious bit of kit, that Bivvy. But just before I get this back out after having that fish, I'm just going to kind of talk you through what I'm using and what's actually worked for me for a change. Now, first things first, there are no leaders of any sort allowed on this complex. So instead of tubing, because I hate it, I've pretty much gone naked straight through to a leg clip. The line that I'm using is actually quite a thick mono, which sinks really well. So I don't feel like I absolutely need a leader, as this main line pretty much does the job for me. Now moving down to a little lead clip, meaning that the lead can come off nice and easily if a fish gets snagged or something like that. And then I'm just using a really simple little blowback rig. Now I've tried to neaten it up a little bit. I've got a little bit of shrink tube over the eye. I've got a tiny little bit of putty where there's a little stripped back section, so that gives a bit of movement but also anchors that down a little bit. I'm only using a wafter anyway, so it's not like I'm using a pop-up and it's just going to be floating about like that. It will be pretty much sat on the floor, but if a fish picks it up, then it's a little bit harder to deal with a bit more movement. I've then got quite a stiff material as like the main kind of boom section, and then that's down to a little loop which I've used a little figure of 8 knot, and I've actually coated this loop with a little bit of shrink tube as well, just to keep it that little bit neater, and then a tiny little tail rubber. So that's all I'm using, super simple, it's done the job. And I would pass you on to Iain to talk about what he's using, but it doesn't work, does it? So he's frantically trying to get a last bite. We've literally got a couple of hours, if that, and it looks good for a bite, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. Well, we're hoping to end this video on a bit of a high, but the last, 4 hours has been very, very wet.
Yeah.
And it's the end of the 24.
Time to go home.
Time to go home. Bring the rods in. Most of our stuff's packed away already, so just kind of getting wet on the barrow while we finish this off. But that is a win for me.
It is a win, actually, yeah.
I feel like,
congratulations.
Thank you. I feel like most wins are very shallow wins.
Yeah.
And this is no exception. But it is a win, and I'm taking it with a 13-pound common.
So that's 1-1 then.
That is 1-1. So are we worthy? Yeah, are we worthy of a grudge match, or has it been a really boring video? Let us know in the comments.
Don't let us.
No, don't let us know. We you know, yeah. But hopefully you have enjoyed it, and hopefully you've enjoyed having a first look at the SLR Bivvy, because it really is a pretty cool bit of kit, isn't it?
Yeah, I really like it. Really good bit of kit.
It's a lot of Bivvy for the money. So yeah, it's definitely, if you're at any shows this year, or you know guys that have got them already, have a look at them, because once you see them in the flesh, you realise quite how worthy they are. But like we've said previously, more information is available on the ProLogic website, so you can have a decent look at all the specs there. Gonna do your usual.
Do the bit.
Do the bit.
If you like this video, please do hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that bell notification icon. And that way you won't miss out on any more extremely wet and yet rather sunny content, just like this.
Very confusing weather at the moment.
It really is,
yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one, which hopefully will be warmer and drier.
Yeah, in the summer.